Well, hello, welcome. This is the first episode of our new travel tale, which is called To The Orkneys. So we're going slowly up to the Orkney Islands through Scotland, and you're very welcome. So, are you sitting comfortably? Then we'll begin. We woke at the crack of dawn on Saturday, the first day of our holiday, excited to be off touring Scotland with our caravan. By tea time we were all finally ready to set off. It's surprising how many jobs have to be done before you can at last get going. Little things like taking the dog to the kennels and being mobbed by a gang of Rhodesian ridgebacks. "They sound worse than they are," cries the cheerful kennel owner. Like noticing that 2 front tyres on the car appear to be illegal and need replacing at once this very day. And like noticing that the milkman has not seen the note cancelling the milk and has gone on holiday himself, leaving a stand-in who we cannot contact. These little jobs and more, too tedious to mention, stood between us and our long-awaited holiday to tour Scotland. Finally getting going at tea time, we took it steadily up the M6 motorway, as there is no other way to take it when there is a caravan hooked onto the back of the car. And by 8 o'clock in the evening, we had arrived at the lovely site at Moffat in South Scotland. We wound the caravan legs down and got the kettle on. It was raining and clouds had descended over the hills, but no matter, for we were cosy in our den. We have all mod cons, central heating, a shower, fridge and cooker, and king-size bed. So we sat on opposing sofas, drinking our tea. Suddenly, there were the most alarming hissing and gurgling noises, as if a steam engine was pulling up close beside us. But this noise was coming from beneath Paul's seat. He sat bolt upright with wild staring eyes, resembling a startled weasel. The noises increased in intensity. Something dreadful was happening deep in the bowels of the caravan. He leapt up, pulled up the sofa cushions, and looked with horror at the water tank. It had overheated, blowing the pipe off, and was gushing hot water out into the caravan. The water flowed freely along the caravan floor. After staring at each other helplessly for an interminable minute, we both started leaping about like scalded cats, which is what we would have been if we had not quickly shut down the water pump. We spent the next half an hour bailing the caravan out and mopping up. Our camping neighbours must have wondered what we were about, as we both stood outside in the pouring rain with one end of a sopping bath towel each, wringing it out several times. When we finally lay wearily down in our bed, we wondered what further events our holiday had in store. We were asleep in a trice. The next day we packed up, hitched up, and headed north en route for the Orkney Islands. After a marathon drive of 240 miles, we arrived at Rosemarkie, the Black Isle about halfway up Scotland, where we set up about 20 feet from the sea. Different kinds of birds and gulls were wheeling about, from swifts to large black-backed seagulls. We could see 2 common terns several yards out. They are known as the swallows of the sea for their forked tails. Before going for a stroll, Paul wanted to padlock his bike to the chrome handles on the back of the caravan, but the lock was too short. Showing commendable initiative and using my strength from recent workouts, I lifted his bike so that he could make the padlock reach around the crossbar. As he pulled the bike forward, it smashed against the rear caravan lights, breaking the orange indicator. As misfortunes are said to come in threes, we are now on alert for a third mishap. We walked past the golf course, hugging the line of the shore, and along the beach in the teeth of a stiff sea wind to the lighthouse at Shannonry Point. We hoped to see some bottlenose dolphins, and our patient scanning of the grey ocean was rewarded. A dolphin played in the waves, and quite a crowd of onlookers were gathered at the tip of the land. Every few minutes, the shiny blue fin would arch out and slide back under with an expulsion of air, hitting the water. The choppy waters of the Moray Firth at this point are well known as the place where visitors to the Black Isle are almost certain to see dolphin. We watched until the wind was really chilling us through our summer clothes and we could stand it no longer. Then we reluctantly backed away, still hoping for a last glimpse of our beautiful friend, who was obviously aware of the presence of people on the shore. We strode back through the increasingly cold and steely grey Scottish summer evening, with our hair streaming back and our ears tingling from the tugging wind. It was a fair trek, and we were ready for a steaming bowl of thick lentil soup and a mug of hot tea to warm us up when we got back to the caravan. After all, it is only late July. That night, unaccustomed as I am, I wore a fleecy nightie and snuggled up to my human hot water bottle. No wonder the sun cream is at the bottom of the wash bag, far below the midge repellent. The next day we woke up to a changeable sky scudding over the seafront site. Black, grey and white clouds with great holes of blue sky rolled over, pushed by a fresh wind. We took a stroll into the local village and mingled with the villagers of Fortrose. The woman in the co-op, on being asked how she was, said, "It doesn't matter how I am, no one will listen anyway, will they?" The woman who had asked readily agreed that this was indeed the case. But it was a mainly cheerful occasion. Later, while Paul went for a bike ride to Cromarty, I walked the mile or so along the beach back to the windy headland where people were gathering to watch the dolphins. This time there were 5, a group of 3 accelerating and coming out of the water in almost train sequence, and 2 tossing an enormous silver salmon high in the air. The second time the salmon appeared, it had a bloody hole where the head had recently been, and the dolphin played with the fish, balancing it on its nose and flinging it about in the waves. All this was happening about 30 feet away from the shore, and it was possible to closely observe every detail of the dolphin's appearance and movements. There was a sense of being in communication with something so wild and free in its natural environment that all of us, a small band of devotees, standing on that small point, with our feet being swallowed up by the wet, stony sand, so close to the sea, we felt lucky and enriched. My caravan reading at the present is the Tibetan Book of Living and Dying by Sogyal Rinpoche. I walk back along the coastal path, therefore, trying to make the most of the present moment. He writes, "What is our life but a dance of transient forms? Isn't everything always changing? The leaves on the trees, the light in your room as you read this, the seasons, the weather, and what about us? Doesn't everything we have done in the past seem like a dream now? The friends we grew up with, the childhood haunts, those views and opinions we once held with such single-minded passion, we have left them all behind. The cells of our body are dying. We are impermanent. Look at a thought. It comes, it stays, and it goes. The past is past, the future not yet risen, and even the present thought, as we experience it, becomes the past. The only thing we really have is nowness, is now. And he asks us, have you actually understood and realised the truth of impermanence? Have you so integrated it into your every thought, breath and movement that your life has been transformed? Ask yourself these two questions. Do I remember at every moment that I'm dying and that everyone and everything else is too? And so treat all beings at all times with compassion? Has my understanding of death and impermanence become so keen and urgent that I'm devoting every second to the pursuit of enlightenment? I do like a bit of light holiday reading, as you can tell. Of course, the Master says only the repressed and materialistic Western culture regards these thoughts as morbid. And I've been aware of the need not to squander the present moment, but really to try and appreciate each beautiful scene and experience of Scotland as we travel. Perspective and taking stock seems to be the currency of 50-somethings, however, which is how old I was. As I see a little boy in wellies enjoying riding his bike around the caravan site, with the mountains and fresh air all around, I remember that little boy, my son, that was mine, all grown up now. I remember him riding his bike around the caravan site. And I remember kissing his smooth cheek, cooled by the wind, and watching him guzzling down orange juice in that breathless way young active children do, before running back out to play again. I'm so proud of the adult he's become. And of course he's a kind, loving son. And I've come to terms with the fact that he's grown up. I've lost the little boy and gained a beautiful man. Perhaps other mothers can understand this feeling. It seems certainly these thoughts confirm these Buddhist insights. And once I see this, I come to appreciate the nowness. For this will all move on, and I have my memories. The next morning, we head up to the far north and make camp at a simple, small site amidst the spectacular dunes, beaches and cliff tops of Dunnet Head, the most northerly point of mainland Britain. The wind here will also defeat my friends the midges, an added bonus of staying close to the sea. The bird life is plentiful, with oyster catchers, puffins and gulls constantly crisscrossing the sea, their wings flapping a fraction above the water for a few seconds. We go to register in a little hut, and there's a man there running the campsite. And in this wonderful wilderness, there's hardly anyone around. And here he is, stressed and anxious. He says to us, the pressure of this job is really getting through to me. There are times when I just have to get in my car and drive off to that forest over there and just sit there in the car. I can't take the pressure. Well, we looked round and we couldn't see any pressure, only the sky, the sea, the birds and the sand. So I suppose, as the Buddhists have it, it is all in the mind. So enjoy your present moment. And it's the end of episode 1. And I'll see you tomorrow at 4 p.m. UK time for episode 2, when we go over to the Orkney Islands. Okay, take care of yourself. Blessings.